Hello and welcome to Forever After That. We have a really special guest here tonight. It's free for all. Forever After That tonight is what we're calling this. And Steve kind of brought this to me today. It's the Zoom link has been posted on Enlightened Living. It's also posted on my homepage. We already have one active participant, Carol, and Alan is here with me today. I am so happy to have you here, Carol, because there is so many synchronicities between us. Our stories are very, very similar. And so we spend time crying together and there's a whole lot that we share in that we both have these ongoing relationships with loved ones that we've lost. So if you want to share a little bit of that story, you can. Are you comfortable with that?
Well, I guess so. My husband had passed away just about 2 years ago. And sorry, still a little emotional because it was just this past weekend.
Yes.
But I don't know, over the past, 2 years, you go through a grieving process and that whole bit. And then you start to come out of that. And I guess I just started seeing little signs from him and that kind of thing. And then more recently have been getting many more signs that he's not gone, that he's definitely here with me.
Yeah.
So kind of the same thing that happened with you and Steve, but I think yours happened much faster and stronger. It's taken me a little while, but I am definitely seeing it, and feeling it.
Yeah. It's the feeling part. It's that it's hard for me to describe to people a lot of times. And I know you're the same way. I think that's why it's so important for us to share these stories, because so often I started experiencing him within just a couple of days. I knew that he was there. He would absolutely wrap me up in this big hug. And I was like, what is this? And it was so powerful that all I could do was just stand there in his energy. I couldn't even move and I could barely breathe. I had to have a little talk with him about, okay, loosen up just a little bit because I need to breathe. But you talk to people about it, and a lot of people just think, well, she's had a big loss. Maybe she's losing it a little bit. We're just gonna placate her, let her talk about it. But I have come across more and more people, and I'm so glad to have met you and to be able to be a part of this journey with you, because there are more and more people who are experiencing this sort of thing now. And by sharing your story, there are people that are willing to get out and instead of being like, wow, man, there's something wrong with me, they're going, wait a minute, they're having the same kind of experience that I have. Maybe I'm not crazy after all. Maybe I'm willing to spend some time on this and take that time to say, hey, like with me, it was like, Steve, I was so desperate. It was out of my desperation. You say that I got on that path a little more quickly. The only reason why I did was because I was absolutely the most desperate person you could ever see. It was either I find a way to contact him, to find a way, some way to feel his presence around me, or I just didn't want to be alive anymore. I was the closest I've ever been. And I would have never done it because I had children, but I really didn't want to be alive. And I didn't know how I could stay alive because it hurt so much. It was like being ripped in half. So it was the desperation. I'm sure your pain was not any less. I'm just really a stubborn redhead. I was like, there was no way. There was no way that I was going to let him just get away from me like that. And there's one other big difference between us. And you can tell this part of your story too, is that I only had 6 weeks. Like he got sick and he was diagnosed July 22nd, September 6th, he was gone. So I didn't even have time to like get used to the idea of him being sick before all of a sudden I didn't have him anymore. So that left me in this, like, I didn't have time. We didn't have time to talk. We didn't have any kind of closure. There was nothing there for me to hold on to. I wanted some experiences. I wanted to go back to the mountains with him. I wanted to have something so that we could go through the process of loss in a more, I don't think there's ever an easy way, but I had hoped that we could have some time, just the two of us, so that we could figure out how to somehow deal with it a little bit easier. So it was such a huge shock to me. I don't think I had a choice. I think I had to. I think I had to go into that. He had to. Let me change that phrasing. He just made that clear to me because he's made sure he's here tonight and I feel him behind me. He had to make sure that I was going to be okay. He was always the type from the time that I met him. He was the type that was going to fix everything. And so he was not going to go too far away from me until he was sure that I was going to make it through it. So that's the difference. I need to make sure to give that because he's like being very pointed about that. Like, wait, hold on, sister. So go ahead. With you, how many years did you say from his diagnosis? You had some time.
Well, he was diagnosed in May of 17. So we had a little bit over a year. And when we got his diagnosis, I had already been through lung cancer with a loved one before that, and that was my mom. Mm-hmm. And so when we met with the doctor, the oncologist, and I remember Bill saying, well, how long do I have? And of course, doctors don't usually like to give you any kind of timeline or whatever. And he kept pressing her, and she was like, I can't give you that answer. She goes, typically it can be, a year, it can be several years, And in the back of my mind, I knew it would probably be a year or less. Mm-hmm. And he was a heck of a fighter. He really was. He didn't want to give up. Mm-hmm. He had too much to live for. He had 3 children of his own, a son and 2 daughters, and I had 2 daughters, and my daughters loved him as much as his own children. And so it was hard on the whole family, both families. Mm-hmm. And it was a rough road. The first couple of months he did real well. He fought hard, and then we started having some other underlying issues, with his kidneys and everything. But he never gave up. He just didn't want to quit fighting, right until the very end. And he didn't want to go into hospice. He was like fought tooth and nail. And I remember his sister and I and his dad were sitting in his hospital room one day, and we were like, we had to remind him that he had said he wanted quality of life, not quantity. Mm-hmm. And I think that was the hardest day, was him having that realization that, okay, it's time to say enough. Mm-hmm. That was tough.
Yeah, I remember that day. It's
yeah.
When we sit there and we talk, it brings me back to those places too. And I feel for you this week because I know that you're going through that anniversary and it's so difficult. I'm going through that anniversary and it's been 4 years. So I can imagine with you, hasn't been quite as long. You haven't had as much time. I feel like we feel it in our bodies, even if the mind says, no, I'm fine. The body still goes through. And even if you're like, wait, you'll be going along. So July 22nd was his diagnosis day, which was probably the hardest day besides his death. It was horrible. It was horrible. I remember feeling like somebody just like they sucker punched me. Like what? We're in the hospital for back pain. And the doctor gave him a death sentence that same day. So we didn't have. So there's this part of our bodies, our beings, our physicalness that continues to respond, whether no matter how much work we've done, we think, oh, we're so enlightened. Yes, I feel him around me all the time. He's here with me now. And yet he's making me want to cry because there's this separation between us, even though physically, spiritually on that level, I sense him. Physically, we're not together. Physically, there's a space between us where we can't, I don't even know how to describe it. And so I sense, and I don't know how you are, but I sense sometimes I think this is my understanding. Some people don't agree with me, but my understanding is that a part of us always stays with those that we love, that we have so many layers. And so part of him has gone off and expanded and healed and done all that. And there's a part of him, that part of him that was mine, that was my husband, that I still sense sometimes. That it's like that's the part of him when he'll come around me like that, that I feel like I need to cry because I still feel his loss. He stepped out of a precious lifetime where we had just finally
Mhm.
gotten together. He had children. I had children. He loved my children. So for him to have just stepped out of it, I feel like a part of him stays with me always. And in that part of him, there's still pain. And I don't know if you still experience, I don't want us to sit here and cry all night. We might, you guys that are watching, we might just sit here and cry all night because there's so much. It doesn't matter how many years we go. He and I were soulmates, and I'm quite sure that you and Bill were soulmates. So there's that yeah, we're going to have many lifetimes. We've had many lifetimes. We'll have more lifetimes if we choose to. It doesn't change that there's time here where I'm here and he's not. And there's that sense of loss as if a part of us has just been, it's gone. And so we'll just sit here and breathe for a minute. And anybody else who wants to join us tonight to come in and cry, I have posted the Zoom links.
Yeah, it's only, well, on Sunday, I felt it wasn't Sunday. Sunday was a good day. That was the actual anniversary of his death. And I was very calm that day. I had started the day off with yoga and was having fun with friends and everything. So it kind of took my mind off of it. And it was good that I had finally reached that point, I think, that I wasn't sitting around on that day and
Right.
just being a basket case and crying. And so it was kind of nice to have that, you know, start to the day. And then later on, he had always um, wanted me to scatter his ashes in a whole bunch of different places. He wants to be all over the world, but he definitely wanted to be down on the Pocomoke River and the Atlantic Ocean.
Mhm.
And he said, if you can get me to the Pacific, do it.
Mhm.
And he was a big fisherman, so he was always out on the water. He loved the Chesapeake Bay, which is what we live near. And he loved fishing on the Potomac River. And there's so many places he goes, take some here, take some there, take some here. Yeah. So I did finally honor that wish of his. And I was sitting on the dock, um, a dock on the Pocomoke River, and I just let some of his ashes go. And just as I did that, this orange butterfly came right to me and just fluttered around my hands as if to say, I know. And I could feel him there. It was like he was sitting there on the dock with me. And it was peaceful. It was just peaceful to let part of him go where he wanted to be.
Mhm.
You know.
Yeah. Yeah, that's the hardest thing. That day that you pick up those ashes, this person that you love so much has been
Mhm.
is this.
Yeah.
And and I remember the days for me, right after his memorial service, I took some out here in the mountains. I don't even remember. It was too soon for me. It's really good that you've taken the time. I think we talked about this, was to take that time. Ashes aren't going to go anywhere. And yes, he'll make it to the Pacific. I feel it. I feel like you're going to get him there one way or another. He's going to get there because they're not going to go anywhere. You can continue to work on that project little by little and keep releasing and keep releasing. And every time it creates a different energy someplace, every place. And so I know for me, I've got a couple of places where I left ashes right after he passed when I was still in a whole lot of pain. And then the next year, when I came here on our anniversary, I left some right out back here at the Oval Cabin, and I can still go back to that place. I take anyone that comes here. Gerald Ann went there a few weeks ago because I want that's really the place. That's the place. I have a tree out here. I put a marker on him, but the place where I sense him is there. And so I always tell people, and I think I told you this too, is to find that one place. The ashes can go wherever they asked. I would be like, I would find a way. If I had to walk them to the Pacific, if Steve had said that's what I wanted, he had a hard time telling me anything. He didn't tell me at all what to do. It came down to we couldn't talk about it. We couldn't, if we'd had talked about what to do after he died, that would have meant that I would have had to allow the idea that he was going to die.
Yes.
And I did not allow the idea that he was going to die until the day that he died. I was still fighting it tooth and nail. I was going to take him to Indianapolis. There was no way I was letting that man leave me. And so we didn't talk about it. But I remember hospice telling us, the social worker, she said, you really should have this conversation. And I said, I went in the bathroom to take a shower and I walked back out and he's laying there in the bed. And I said, should I die before you? I would like to be cremated and I would like my ashes to be taken up into the mountains. And he just looked at me and said, yes, that sounds like a good idea. And I said, all right. And so that's the only way that I knew. Otherwise, I wouldn't have known. So he is here in a few different places here in the mountains, but he's right here. And I didn't know I was going to live here. When I sprinkled his ashes out there, there's no way. This is a tight little community. People don't, you can't find houses right here. So I swear he brought me right exactly to where he wanted me to be. So right there, right beneath me, I can see it from here, is where we had our memorial service. And then I actually put some of his ashes in a big red balloon and Abby released it. And I'm sure they sprinkled right over this house that I'm living in now. I'm almost positive it was like pixie dust coming down. And so when in January, when I kept feeling like I had to go back to the mountains, I just knew I had to come back here. There is no other place on the planet that I'm ever going to be able to live. So I came back here, and it's where I've always wanted to be. Even when he was alive, we'd come back here every year. It was where I've always wanted to be, and he knew it. And so I saw that sign. I had a vision of a house with a sign in the window, and it was, and I knew that I just had to get here. And as soon as I got here, the first full day, I found this house. And we're right here. I can walk, I think it's a mile, maybe a mile and a half, up to the Ogle cabin where I sprinkled his ashes. It's right back behind me. So I don't know how that relates to you. I'm just these things that we do, that we're led, they lead us all along the way when we pay attention. I've written a book and I need to rewrite it because it keeps, the story continues. It needs to keep. I'm not done with it yet, but the beautiful breadcrumbs, because these men of ours, I often think about that when you talk about him, how he's leaving you these beautiful breadcrumbs. They continue to leave us this treasure map, these things along the way to lead us to the places and to the people. And you're one of the people. And he led you to me. It's like we just keep on making. On the day of his memorial service, I had all this stuff I was going to say, and they turned to me to talk, and the only word that would come out of my mouth was connections. And I was like, that's it. That's all I'm getting. And I know now what that meant. That was him speaking through me. For that one little second, he actually made himself known. And that's what he wanted me to do, was to make connections. I had a message from a psychic not long after that. And she said, he's telling you not to hide yourself. You've got to get out and meet people. You've got to join things. You can't just hide in your house anymore, because you've got to make connections. And so that's why it's so important to me tonight, and every other chance you get, and anyone else that has these kinds of experiences. If you guys will look and you're having these kinds of experiences and you want to join me on the show right now, I would love for you to click on that link, on the Zoom link, so that you can share your stories too, because man, there's a reason why we're all led together. It's the soul family. We're here to support each other, and we're here to do some kind of work, whether it's just share our stories so other people know they're not crazy. I just feel like it's a powerful story. You're living a miracle. It took me a while to admit that and to share the story with other people, because I thought they'd think I was crazy. And then now it's like, why can't I can't just not share this. I live a miracle. This man loved me so much. Bill loves you so much. I say loved, and that's not, he's like, nope, love. I love you so much, but I am never going to leave, that I will always be around you. Some part of me will always be with you. as long as you're there on that planet and you're in physical form, I'm not going to leave. And that's the same thing. It's like I can see Bill too. They're both standing there with their arms crossed, like we're staying, like we're not going anywhere. So you don't need to worry about that. If you're thinking that, and if you're thinking that you're being selfish, you're not, because Steve has made it clear. He's like, there's nothing selfish about that. I can be in a million places at one time. He's like, there's no time on the other side. Oh, you want me with you? I'm with you. You want me to be with my kids, or of course I'm there. I'm everywhere. Did you ever have that experience yet, Carol? Let me see if you've experienced. There was a shift for Steve. For a while he was my Steve. He was still the man that I was married to. And there came a point where suddenly I realized that he wasn't just my Steve anymore. He's everyone's Steve. And it was like a part of everything. Of course, he's in the butterflies and the hummingbirds and the dragonflies and the rainbows that have been coming all week. Of course he's in those because he's everywhere. There's no limitations. He can be anywhere at any time. And I often hear him say in a joking way, when I see rainbows and things, I'll hear him say, look what I can do. Like they're so they're so powerful. What they're showing us is you, me, everyone that's watching this is so powerful and so amazing and such a miracle. And within each one of us, we hold this power to come from one lifetime to the next lifetime, to come in as servants, to help other people, to raise awareness. And then we might choose to step out and spend time with them again. We might choose to step back in. I probably will, because I'm like Joan of Arc. I'm like, yeah, send me. Whatever you want, I'm going. And Steve's like, just would you stop for a while? can you just sit with me here for a while? You don't got to go running back in there again. So I don't know. That was your question, and I went roundabout. But do you experience him? Is it still kind of in grief? And are you still kind of hurting when you feel him around? Or are you starting to experience that magnitude of who he really is, the source energy coming into your space?
Yeah, I'm starting to get that. For a long time, I think it was just grief. And now I just see all his gorgeous gifts. Like I went back to where we were married, on our anniversary, and we had not really been back there since we had gotten married. And I think we had gone back one time, and we had wanted to fish that day, and they had the park closed for some reason that day, so we didn't get a chance to do that. But I really hadn't been back to the place that we had been married, and it was a beautiful park right out on the water and everything. And I thought, you know what, I'm just going to go up. I'm going to maybe take a flower from the garden and throw the rose petals in the water. I was just being weird.
That's beautiful.
But, it was funny. I went up, and I was just kind of walking along the waterfront, just kind of reliving that day, looking over at the pavilion where we had our reception. And we were funny. Neither one of us, it was a third marriage for him. It was my second. And neither one of us wanted anybody to get dressed up. And we kept telling everybody, come in shorts. We're going to have a picnic afterwards. Don't get all dressed up, And we were dressed up. Our kids were dressed up. But we kept saying to everybody, don't get all dressed up. It's no big deal. So a few of our friends actually did show up in shorts and Hawaiian shirts and everything. And we were like, yes, somebody listened to us. Mm-hmm. So I went back up, and I took the rose petals and fluted them right off the bulkhead where we got married. And then I was kind of walking over, and I walked over to a picnic table, and I sat down, and on the picnic table was a fish hook. And I looked up and I said, you left this for me, didn't you? And so I sat there a little while, and then I looked up, and there was a heart in the clouds.
Oh, wow.
And I even took a picture of it, and I think I posted it on Facebook, because it was this perfect heart. And I'm like, okay, thank you. Gift received.
That's beautiful.
And it was so neat to actually look up and see it.
Hmm.
Yeah.
And that's the
But
trick.
but now, I feel him, and it's not sadness. It's just like you said, it's like this warmth, you know, wonderful energy. I don't know how else to describe it. And he's come to me in other ways. He's so funny because the first time I really heard him, it was like he was talking on his voicemail. This is Bill.
And I told you I had that same experience, so that's weird. This is Steve.
And I was like, okay, babe, I know it's you.
Just letting you hear a little bit of that voice again, just
Yeah.
do you do that? I do. I still do. I did it just the other day. When he first passed, he used to have Magic Jack. I left recorded messages on my phone. I had all these ways to still hear his voice, and I've lost most of them because I've had a new phone. The other day,
Mm.
I pulled up and I thought I had taken him completely off my phone, and I pulled up my phone and there was Steve work number, and I'm like, you know, just want to see if he answers, like I'm still waiting to see if the man answers the phone. So I pick up the phone. It's just part of my mental illness, I think. So I pick up the phone and I dial it and I punch in his extension, and sure enough, recorded message, Steve.
Wow.
I know. And that used to be a landmine for me. It used to be one of those things that if I had gone to that and I would have listened to it a dozen times, I would have kept calling
Mhm.
back and calling back and calling back and calling back, because he's picking up the phone is what I'm picturing, and he's talking. But instead I listened to it one time. I said, wow. And I waited for the message to come up and I just said, I miss you so much.
Oh,
And I hung up the phone and I stopped. I didn't call again. I didn't torture myself with it. So that's real growth. I'm not totally crazy. I held on to some of my sanity. It's growth, but there's something about still remembering. That's the thing, is there was a point where I had to let go of what I wanted him. I still wanted him back exactly the way that he
mhm.
was. And we get to the point where we realize we've got to let go of that in order to see who they really are. Because then we're like, woo, like this is an amazing, this soul that I was married to is powerful and amazing and incredible. And the places that I couldn't go to when we were alive. He reminded me of this the other day. It's like spiritual level, I like to keep on climbing. There's not much that's going to make me stop. He wasn't in it. He was like, I would go just so far, and he would start talking about, Thor or Batman or something. He loved movies, and so he kind of, he connected on the movie thing and knew everything about the movies, and I couldn't connect there because I just wasn't somebody to be that obsessive with movies. Although I'd go to a lot of movies, sometimes I'd fall asleep. I fell asleep in Iron Man when we first got together, and he's like, how did you sleep through that? I'm like, I don't know. Like, I just was tired. I don't know. He was very comforting to me, and I would curl up next to him and I'm gone. Like, that's it. I would fall asleep every time. He got to where he would only watch zombie movies with me because if I was really, really scared, I couldn't go to sleep. So he'd play it really loud. So about the time I'd start to nod off, you'd hear these horrible noises, and I'd be like, what? What's going on? So, but we couldn't connect at a spiritual level. I couldn't go very far with him. He just kind of like stopped. Well, I'll tell you what, he is so wise now. He's got it all figured out, and he blew right past me. So sometimes I can say things to him and he'll like give me this profound answer. And I really, really don't think I'm crazy in this whole the Beiersdorfer Institute and all of these things that we're working on all the time. It's like I feel like, and I don't know if you're there yet, but I feel like there came a point where we just kind of, I remember going, oh wait, it's not him and me anymore. It's like at some level we are one. And so I hear him things that I would never think. Like, I don't know, where did that come from? Because I didn't think I was very smart at all. And then all of a sudden something comes through to me. I'm like, wow, that was really profound. I really do. I mean, obviously I've got my higher self and I can go there with that, but I do feel often that I'm just really, really hearing him clearly, and understand too. And I think people need to hear this, that we don't necessarily hear them in that I am Steve, or
Right.
this is Steve, or this is,
Right.
we hear them in our own voice. So the way that for me, and I don't know how you did it, the way that I got in closer contact with him was to get in the car by myself, to start talking to him. I would talk to him all the time, or I would tell him to take a ride with me, take a walk with me, and I'd start talking. And pretty soon, this huge emotion that wasn't mine would come over me, and all of a sudden, I would start speaking more quickly or more forcefully, and it wasn't coming from here. I knew it wasn't. I was like, I wasn't even thinking that, and it just kind of came out my mouth. So that's how I really got to where I could better actually hear him speaking through me. There's definitely a difference in hearing my voice and in hearing him speaking through my voice. Do you notice that?
Yeah, yeah. And I'm not there yet, I don't think. But I kind of did the same things that you did. The only way I got through the first year was really long walks out in the woods.
Yeah.
That's where he felt at peace, either on the boat fishing or sitting out in the woods. That's where he was at peace and where he felt God, you know.
Yeah.
And so, I do the same thing. I just go walk for miles in the woods and say, come on, take a walk with me. I know you got to be here because you loved it here.
Uh-huh.
And I know one of the places that I want to get his ashes to is up on a mountain. And that's where he always went to hunt.
I'm gonna have to come.
And,
Oh, is it a different mountain, a specific mountain?
no, it is a specific mountain. It's up in, I guess, kind of central Western Maryland. It's up near Hagerstown. And it was one of his favorite places to hunt. And I didn't mind going up there with him because though I didn't hunt, it had a little lake and you could sit there and fish and whatever. And I would just go take pictures, Of course, when he was up there hunting, I had to stay in the camp because you didn't want to walk through the woods then. But yeah, that's where I started feeling Bill, was when I was in the woods.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. It's almost like an electricity. Everything, the energy just changes, and I think
It
it's
does.
easier for them because there's that beautiful energy in the woods that it's so easy for them to have. We get in certain places, mountains, rocks, around these. I know that's why I feel him so much more here, because the environment is just more ancient, and there's just a better connection. I just think that there's a better in me. The transmissions are better. I got to break us up because I did say something about Free for All Thursday, and what I was hoping, because we're going to run out of time, and the stories are so beautiful, and thank goodness you're going to be on Silent Mystics again on Monday, so we can just sit there and talk. We'll just keep going, you guys. This is just an ongoing thing with Carol and I. But I am not much for pulling cards and doing readings anymore, Catherine. I did promise. So I asked if you have anything, if any messages come through, I'm always more than willing to share them. So I do have cards. So Catherine, I know you love cards. So I do have, they're moon cards. See, they're these. We'll pull a card for Catherine because Catherine asked specifically for a card. So let's go ahead and pull her a card real quick. And anybody else, if you really want a card, I'll do it. On Tuesdays with John, Thaddeus, and they do readings. Yeah, Wendy's trying to help you out. I did say something about the possibility of readings. So I am going to see if one of these cards calls out to me for Catherine right now, okay? So you can continue to talk. Otherwise, I just wait. I used to do this all the time, believe it or not. I don't use cards anymore. I just kind of let the readings come through. Usually the energy just starts channeling, and then all of a sudden I start talking really fast, and people are just like, buckle your seatbelts, because when I get talking really fast, like I'm talking right now, that means Steve's in the room.
That's what I figured was going to happen tonight.
It's like, okay, Steve, I told you this is your show. She wants a card. We're going to give her a card. Okay. Here's our card, Catherine. This is for you. If anyone wants to come in real quick, you can do that, because I can give you, I was going to make you come in here to get a reading, but I won't do that. I'll be nice because, Carol was so nice that she took your place. She came in here. So this is the card for Catherine Kovacs. Can you see it? It's probably, no, it's frontwards for you, just backwards for me.
Step out of your comfort zone.
Step out of your comfort zone. Let me see. I'm not big on reading the book. because the message usually comes through loud and clear. We all know what step out of the comfort zone is. We're all really being called right now. This is like a group message because right now the universe is calling us all to step out of our comfort zone. We're in a space of, man, it's uncomfortable being a human being right now. It's like we're in this space of whatever is going on the planet, it's massively heavy. And it feels like we're walking around with lead boots on. And we're just like, I'm exhausted. I've spent most of the day laying around trying to take naps. And every time I lay down to try to take a nap today, all of a sudden my third eye would go crazy and I would be like, oh, I'm going to sleep, and boing, something like, what was that? So we've got this thing going on, and it's going on in our sleep too. There is during the day, I'm more shallow. I'm trying to go to sleep. I'm more shallow. And so my third eye, that things are bouncing out really fast. At night, it's happening too. I know I've had massive, crazy dreams. We're just in this wild energy right now, and the energy is coming through me so big. So we're in this crazy energy right now, and I want everyone that's watching the show to know this right now. We are in a light body activation. We're really, really going through a space where the body is having a hard time, just like the ego has a hard time keeping up with the higher self. The body is having a hard time keeping up with the light body. So we're going through this huge transition. Ission's the word. A huge transition where the body is trying to keep up with this ascension process. So we're all of us, even people that think that they have nothing to do with being enlightened in any way, and they're still stuck back in that 3D. Every one of us is going through a huge transitional phase at a cellular level. And so whenever we're going through any kind of change, it's very exhausting. Think about yourself, Catherine. Think about yourself. I just saw that you recently had a big move. And when you were moving, it was very, very tiring. And oh my gosh, it's emotionally draining. It's very, very tiring. It's like childbirth. You never want to do it again until you forget about it. And then you go and do it again. And so just the reminder is that if you're feeling more down and you're feeling like you're exhausted, like something's wrong with you physically, obviously go get yourself checked out by medical doctors. And if they're saying there's nothing wrong, if you're suffering from migraines and vertigo and this huge fatigue, take good care of yourself, drink a lot of water, take good care of your body, and listen to your body and rest. Don't push yourself. I'm the worst. Today, I'm feeling exhausted, and instead of taking good care of myself, I put on that some kind of crazy groove dance video so I could dance. Like literally, I'm in this room, I'm dancing for 45 minutes, and then I was like, wow, I've got a headache. Like, dummy, like, why don't you listen to me? I keep telling you to take a rest, and instead you're dancing for 45 minutes. So I'm the worst. I'm giving myself a reading too. If you feel the need to rest more, if you feel down, if you feel sad and you can't understand why, please know that we're all going through this, and that's why we're all in this together, and we'll pick each other up. Charlie, earlier today you said that you're just crying and crying, and you have a very good reason for crying. But if you're even more emotional today, we're all going through this together, and there is this huge collective consciousness that we're pulling along with us, and they have no idea, and they're confused, and they're sick, and they can't figure out what's going on. They're tired too. And so we're carrying that weight too. So make sure that you're taking care of yourself. You're doing a lot of energy clearing, grounding your energy. Get out there. If you do nothing else, please take a good salt bath. Go outside, stand barefoot in nature, go hug a tree. Just take care of yourself, and know that you're not all by yourself. Please know that we're all going through this with you. I think that's it. I'm running out of steam. That's the end of that card. If you want me, Catherine, if you want me to, I'll look at the book too, but that requires me to put on my glasses, and I said I wouldn't today, but I will for you. Because I hope she's still here. I'm going off. Catherine, if you're not here, you better come back and watch later, because this is all for you, girl. It's actually for all of us. I'm just saying that. All right, let's see if I can find this North Node. Everyone just talk amongst yourselves for a second. I'm sorry, I was really tired all day, and somehow
I can tell. Your energy must have been hyped up and from the groove, and now you're crashing.
I'm crying. There are two choices. I'll tell you what, you got two choices when I get really tired. I either turn into a bear, I get super grumpy, or I get hilariously funny, and there's nothing in between. It's like everybody, my kids are like, please go take a nap, or else they think I've been drinking something, and there's nothing in the middle of all that stuff. Sorry. This is the fun phase, though. You guys get the fun part. I haven't been drinking, I promise. I really haven't been drinking. Although I did take some kind of supplement that was given to me. No, it doesn't have anything in it. I can't find the North Node.
The North Node.
See, there it is. I was like, can't find it. And then it went bing. Okay, let's see. My eyes are all messed up now. There's a strong feeling when you get this card that it's time to leave the past behind you somehow. I knew they were going to say this because you're headed in the right direction. If you want to be happy and fulfilled, you need to get going towards doing the thing that scares you within reason. Okay, don't go jumping off any mountains or anything. Within reason, but you got to step out of that comfort zone. This card is all about living your life purpose, which is possibly what you've asked about. It's urging you to dare to do something different with your life and your direction. So take action. You are willing to follow through and lead the life you incarnated. Are you willing to follow through and lead the life you incarnated to live? If you finally find the courage to make the leap, there's a good chance you'll come to ask yourself, why did I wait so long? I love that. I've actually run into that. That has been my life theme for about 2 years. Step out of your comfort zone. It's no fun staying in the comfort zone. You might as well just go ahead and step out. Look at how crooked these are. You might as well. It's a lot more fun stepping out, even though it's scary, and even though it often makes us feel like we would rather go hide in a cave or under a rock someplace. Stepping out of that comfort zone is so rewarding, and they're really pushing a lot of us right now because we're in that phase where we came here for this. It's a very difficult time to be alive, and we volunteered. They're like, you volunteered to do this, so when are you going to step out? When are you going to take the step? Whether it's talking, Carol, I've been trying to get you on here for a while. Look at you. You stepped out of your comfort zone tonight. Whether it's some kind of art that you're doing, whether you're writing a book, whether it's just, starting a support group or whatever way, it might be helping one person, but they're just asking us to remember that we came here for this, and it's time to step up, step out of the comfort zone. It's okay. You're going to be all right. And step into what you came here to do. And you're going to feel so good when you step into your purpose. So it's more painful holding back. Mm-hmm. Have you ever noticed that when you're like, I feel like I got to do something, but I'm afraid to do it? I could give you a perfect example, but it's a long story. But then stepping into it feels so good. So dance. Julie kisses like LOL dance. Yeah, you guys, I'm hilarious. I swear. These girls, they're so graceful. They're dancing all over the place with this woman, and I'm like falling all over. I looked hilarious. I had too little space. Then, okay, I'm clumsy, and I look hilarious. And I'm sure if anybody was watching me through the windows, they're videotaping because it's going to be worth money to somebody. Then my cat comes running in, and she's like, "Yay, playtime!" And so as I'm going to kick and do my dance, she's grabbing my feet, and I'm falling all over the cat. It was really funny. Sometime maybe you guys can have a hidden camera. You can have a whole lot of fun watching me. But I figure if I do this every day, maybe I'll get more graceful. It's like,
makes perfect.
It hasn't worked yet, but I can keep hoping. Karen Boyle says she was exhausted in every way today. I can't get any of them to come on live with us. I apologize, Carol. I've made you work really hard tonight because they don't.
That's all right. I enjoyed it.
They don't want to come in. We still got a few more minutes. Let's see who else has anything. I got the cards out. If anybody else really wants a card, I'm more than willing to just, keep on going. We got there's lots of your friends here tonight. I don't know if you've been watching. If you probably can't see. But
I didn't even.
I see.
The thing I used my phone was to try to figure out what the link was.
Wendy is here. Very good.
Yeah.
Wendy is here. I saw John. And I do have cards, Catherine. Catherine, if that card was what you were looking for, let me know if you're still here. And if you're not, then it'll have to be. there's any other questions you can ask. She did ask a few times. I was not, it's difficult. I'm not good at multitasking. I apologize. I was hoping people would come into the room with me so we could ask,
Yeah.
we could start doing some readings live, because my voice sounds like bells ringing. Is that a good bells ringing, or is that a bad bells ringing? Because if it sounds like a bad bells ringing, I'll stop talking and I'll leave it all to Carol. She just have to keep on talking. If it's a good bells ringing, like a happy bells ringing.
I
Sorry.
think I hear it. It does. It sounds like a bell, but it's very faint. It's pretty.
Okay, all right. I'll be Belle today. Okay, Julie says she wants a card. We got a little bit of time. Let's pull Julie a card. I gotta put this back in.
I thought Julie was coming.
I know, Julie Kiss, where are you? You're making us do all the work tonight. That's okay. That's okay. I know how it is.
Yeah, I thought we were doing this like in a couple of weeks.
That's
The
best
Carol
way.
Diane show.
When you're gonna do something, the best thing for my way of doing it is if you're gonna do it,
Just
I
to wing
jumped
it.
off a waterfall on Steve's birthday a couple years ago, and I had no plans. I was wearing blue jeans and a t-shirt, and I was like, climbing up the rope all the way up the cliff and getting up there. I'm like, okay, Steve, I was gonna do something else, but this is apparently what you want, and I did it. Took me a few tries, but I did it.
Like walking the plank.
Julie Kiss, I did pull a card for you. I got communication is key. Communication is key. I love keys. Let me tune into you for a second, Julie. I'm not sure what you're doing, and I tend to give general readings because I believe that I came here to be an encourager, and so I try to give things to people that is like a group message. So communication is key, and it's so important. There is the need. There's this need for all of us as we're communicating. Humanity in general is super reactive right now. Trust me, everyone is super reactive. And so you may have people in your life, or you cross at the grocery store, whatever, everything you do, they react to in a negative way. And so here's what I have for you today, coming through really, really strong. Whoever it is that you're having a difficult time communicating with, if you don't work with yourself when you have those triggers, you will continue to pull in more people that will give you the same lesson that you're trying to receive right now. So if you have someone in your life that there's just a block up, they do something and you're like, oh, that reminds me of somebody else, or I'm getting triggered by that and I don't know why they're triggering me. The reminder is to not blame it on the person that's doing it. And this is the most difficult part. Try not to blame it on the person that's actually bringing about the trigger. What is happening is every time we get a trigger, we're in a time right now where we got to let go of all that lower vibrational energy. So the message is to turn around, take that in, look within yourself. What is it that still needs healing? There's something in you, maybe from childhood, maybe from a past relationship, that has not fully healed yet. And until you fully heal that part of you, you will continue to receive that same trigger from that same person. And if you get rid of that person, somebody else will come into your life and keep triggering you, because at a soul level, your soul wants to learn this lesson, wants to figure it out. So all I can tell people is right now, everybody's very triggerable. If you can stop, take that pause. I tell people to do it all the time. Oh, I've been triggered and I want to respond. I want to be reactive. I want to throw it right back at them. Instead of doing that, take the pause. Wait for a few minutes. And if it's a big trigger, it may take more than a few minutes. With a certain relationship that I had to literally go take a walk, sometimes for an hour. But I always came back. Because while I was gone out there walking, I would stop and I would, okay, why did that bother me so much? And every time I did that, it would take me back to I was in an abusive relationship for 20 years. I didn't have the greatest relationship with my father, things like that. So this person was triggering me because I still had wounds inside of me that needed to heal. So I would go on and like, okay, and then all of a sudden I'd go, oh, okay, all right. And I would work with that little girl that had that little painful thing in her. It's like a spur, and then until you find it and heal it, it'll continue. It's just going to keep going and going because it's time to release it. It's time to heal it, feel it, heal it, and let it go. So that's what that card says for me. I'm not even going to read the book. I think that you have to go on intuition. We're going to stick with that. So I hope that helps you, Julie. I know that we had one more really quick. Julie says, yes, that's me. Good. Good. Sharon Boyleman, do one more card, and then it's almost time for us to get out of here. And I don't want to run us really late. Poor Carol. She's like, I want to go home. Please let me leave.
No, I'm doing fine.
You're fine. You're cool as a cucumber tonight. I'm proud of you.
Actually, I'm not. I just got this big heat wave.
Woo! Angels are
And
with you.
somebody came in the room or what, but man.
Ease up a little bit. Ease up a little bit. Just tell him. Say, hey, ease up a little bit. He's like, I'm here. Here I am. So just kind of like when they're overwhelming to you, you can say, hey, I'm still in physical form. Okay. I love you. I love that big warm hug. Turn down the temperature gauge just a little bit because he's letting you know.
Yeah, I feel like he's like, you're doing fine.
Yeah, you're doing fine. Okay. This is a good card for everyone, so we're going to close out the night with it. See if you can see it. The time for healing. And you can see that pretty little moon. I love the moon. I love the moon. The time for healing is obviously obvious tonight. What we were just talking about, this is for you, Sharon Boyle. What we were just talking about is there is deep healing for all of us. Sharon Boyle is such an awesome sound healer, so you're a part of it. But don't forget that you are in need of healing too, that we're all in need of healing, that we need to spend more time working on ourselves. I'm reminding myself the same thing too. I can get up here and go, okay, everybody else needs me. I can have days when someone will say, oh, I'm having a hard time. Can I get can I have a session? I'm like, oh gosh, I'm so exhausted. Okay. Cause they need me. So I'm going to I'll come into it. I'm going to do it. And then I come out of it and I'm like, wow, I need to go crawl myself to bed. So the reminder here is there's a whole lot going on the planet right now. There's a lot of people that are physically ill. There's a lot of people that are spiritually ill, psychologically ill. And there's a lot of need. And we came here to help with this, but please, please know that all of us, while we're here, there's not a one of us that is perfect. Every one of us, we're perfectly imperfect. We all have things that we're here to heal. And none of us is to the place yet. And I don't care who says it, you are not there yet. You still have things that need healing. And so make sure that you're taking good care of yourself. You're looking, those people that do energy sessions, that do healing work, still need healing. All of us need healing. So make sure that you're taking the time to take care of yourself, to do the healing that you need, looking for someone to help you because sometimes we're not even aware that we need it. So we need to be reminded to take the time to go to other people, to ask them, hey, if you're seeing something, please tell me. 2 days ago, I had a session with someone, and I think he's still here right now. And I went into the session and he looked at me and said, you need to take a break. You need to be easy on yourself. And I knew I was super exhausted, but I wasn't taking the time. I wasn't listening to my own body and saying, yeah, I need a break too. So please be aware and listen to those people around you when they say, hey, yes, you're a light worker. You're doing beautiful work. The angels are here to remind you right now that you also need to be included in your healing work. So that's for you, Sharon, and everybody else that needs it. Remember to take care of you too, okay? We're all caretakers. We all want to give. It's a very important time to remember to also receive, okay? So make sure that you're receiving. You gotta take care of you first before you can give. You can't give from that empty well. So make sure that you're taking care of you so that you have an abundance. And then you give from that abundance, not from that little tiny bit that you've got left. So that's it. 3 readings. I'm sorry, guys. We only got an hour. But I think all of it good, Julie. I'm so glad that resonated with you. If maybe we'll come back on next week. How about that? If anybody still has questions or wants a card reading or anything, I'll see about trying to find some time for that every week. Maybe we can include that in the show from now on. Have a little bit, 2 or 3 cards every time. So that's all I got tonight. Carol, is there anything else that you want to say before we head on out?
No, not really. Just that it was a pleasure to be here. Didn't expect to be on all this time, but I enjoyed it.
You have somebody right behind you, by the way. I can sense that energy.
Hey, I just felt it.
Yeah, he's right there. So you go spend some time with him. It's important for you to spend time with him tonight. I just felt like that just came through. It's important. He wants to spend time with you tonight. So, however, the two of you choose to have a little date night, however you choose to spend time with him, please do. Please know he's there. Okay. Thank you so much for coming in and joining me and sharing a few tears with me. I value your friendship like you'll never believe. Just to find other people that experience this kind of love that just goes on and on and on forever is a miracle to me. So thank you.
Yeah, I thank you because I don't think I would have. I think I was kind of felt like I was going crazy, but you've helped a lot.
Yeah, good. I'm so glad. I'm still here whenever you need it. You guys, thank you so much for joining us tonight. There's noisy kids out there. That wasn't me. Wow. Do you hear that noise? All right. I love you guys. Thank you so much for joining me tonight. I'll see you tomorrow morning on the playground. Sharon Boyle, I see all those hearts. Thank you. Take good care of yourselves, and we'll see you tomorrow morning and again next week. And on Monday, Kira will be with us at 3:33 on Silent Mystics with Gerald Ann. So I hope that she'll join us for that too. Take good care, everyone. Night.
Good night.